On the go? So are we. Get the IBJ Media app, your all-in-one news source for Indiana business news. Get breaking news alerts, read every story from IBJ, Inside Indiana Business, and the Indiana Lawyer, and listen to your favorite podcasts all in one place. Big news, small screen. Search IBJ Media and download the app today.
I have a theme song for Dr. Pepper, and it goes like this. Dr. Pepper, baby, is good and nice.
Oh, so you mean like...
Dr. Rob Pepper, leaning in on the name he shares with the oldest major soft drink in America. Just one way Huntington University's 14th president connects with his students at the small private college in Northeast Indiana. It's a school with a rich history in producing future filmmakers.
Hallelujah!
Hallelujah! I can tell you the denominational leadership is very impressed. We are confident you're going to have these four churches united and the new one built before we know it.
Did you get the call from Lloyd?
Lloyd had a heart attack. We have to find a new carpenter by the end of today.
Could you use me?
Movies like The Carpenter's Prayer and Tea on the Beach. But Huntington University is also a big player in training future nurses and criminologists. And Dr. Rob Pepper is here to talk about it all on this edition of the Business and Beyond podcast presented by PNC. And I'm really pleased to be joined on the podcast this week by Dr. Rob Pepper. He is the president at Huntington University, a really innovative school in Northeast Indiana. And Rob, thanks for taking the time. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me today. Excited to be here.
Absolutely. You and I were on, I know we were on a panel at one of our Innovate Indiana events in Fort Wayne. Really enjoyed that. Enjoyed hearing your perspective on a number of things related to education and workforce. But I've got to ask you to start out, Dr. Pepper, you've got to have a lot of fun, especially being a university president with kids around. You got to have a lot of fun with that name.
I do. Oftentimes when I was teaching, students would say, "Oh, Dr. Pepper, ha, 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 should we call you that?" And I may have mentioned this to you before. And usually I would say, "You better call me that. It costs a lot of money and a lot of time to get that title." Or I would say, "Yeah, my great grandfather started the company." Either way, they didn't really know how to respond, but I will clear it up. My family is not involved in soda or soft drinks or pop, as they say in the Midwest, but it is a lot of fun. We did a TikTok a couple months ago and had several million views on that. So that was a whole lot of fun. Yeah.
I love it. Well, you should leverage that. You should get free Dr. Pepper for life or something, don't you think?
My athletic department would love for us to figure out how to get some Dr. Pepper signs and sponsors in what we call our Plex, which is an amazing basketball event and volleyball arena here. Yeah. So anyway, I don't know. I can't say I haven't thought about it, but
Are the 14th president, I believe, at Huntington University. Give folks, for folks who don't know, Rob, a thumbnail description of Huntington University, located there in Huntington in Northeast Indiana, what the university is all about.
yeah, so we've got the name Huntington University. It's in Huntington City, Huntington County. It's about, as the crow flies, I don't know, 20, 25 miles from Fort Wayne, just on the outskirts of Allen County. Southwest Allen is kind of the way to get here. Huntington University, 1897 is when we were founded and several iterations ago. But, I think a lot of people think about us as this residential, traditional liberal arts college. We have a number of applied programs. Right here, we have give or take 900 plus students who are here. We also have a site in Fort Wayne in partnership with Indiana Tech. We also have a partnership with Parkview where we teach some other programs in Fort Wayne. We have some online programs. And then what a lot of people don't know, particularly people in the Midwest, is we have a campus in Peoria, Arizona, where we have several programs and around 275 students. So
Yeah, Rob, I noticed that and
yeah.
learned that a couple of years ago. How did that come about?
Yeah, interestingly enough, Peoria is a growing suburb of Phoenix, and they felt like the leadership there felt like they wanted to invite some universities to come to town and help them, as we talk about workforce development and also educational opportunities. And so Huntington was one of the ones. It's been over 10 years now. And so We have a digital media arts program there, animation, film. We also have it here, but we have that program there, and that's growing. And then we also have graduate programs in occupational therapy. So we have two programs there. It's not a residential site, but it is courses. The courses we offer are face to face. So it's somewhat traditional in terms of face to face. We have some blended and online programs there as well, but it's a different feel than here. So we have students who either move there and live in and around Phoenix, or we have people who have lived there their whole life, and we're a great partner there in Peoria. We've been there a couple times now. The last time we went was January, which was a great time
I
of
was
year to
gonna
go.
say, I bet you time those, right?
Well, the
In
first time,
December, January.
yeah, well, the first time we went was August and it was 120 degrees. And we went out to dinner one night and came out of the restaurant, and it was like 8:30 at night and it was still 95 degrees. So yeah, we have to time it a little better, but
Yeah, yeah.
it's great to have multiple locations.
Yeah, Rob, talk about, I wanna talk about the programs there at Huntington, but, I guess in the context of the competitive environment, the world of, higher education has always been competitive, I guess, but to me, as an outsider, seems like it's more competitive than ever for students, for faculty, all the things you have to do. How competitive give us a description of the competitive nature of, higher education today.
Yeah, it's extremely competitive, and I think parents and individuals, working adults, graduate students, and then traditional age, I mean, they're not just looking for cheap, they're looking for value. So, what do I get for what I'm paying? What is the payoff for that? It's very much, we talk about your life being transformed, you're growing holistically, we're training you and developing you in multiple areas, but people are really looking for a return on investment. And so, it's everybody's looking at, well, how much is this going to cost me? Where do you place students? Do your students get jobs? How is your program different than someone else's? And so we always are talking about what is differentiating us in the market. I think it's not unlike any other industry where you have multiple providers, and so you have to say as a university, why come to us? How are we different? And yes, there is value in that. So we're a faith-based institution, so that's a differentiator for us. It's a differentiator for us amongst all the options that you may have, but in Northeast Indiana, there are several other faith-based institutions, so, we're competing with them, we're also competing with Ivy Tech, we're competing with Purdue Fort Wayne, we're competing with, the big land grant institutions of IU and Purdue, and, so yeah, we're competing with all of them, in-state and out-of-state, and so I think you're wise to say how competitive is it? It's competitive for students. It's also competitive for faculty.
Yeah, yeah,
We want the best and the brightest. We want people who believe in what we believe in, but we also want people who are excellent in their subject matter and who are really good teachers and mentors.
yeah,
I tell people all the time, like, what do you want? And I say, I want it all. I want the faculty who are going to invest in the lives of students, who are excellent at what they teach and who are also great communicators and at some level some research. I mean, we're predominantly teaching institution. So that's another differentiator for us. If you come to Huntington, get a graduate assistant or a research assistant, you're going to actually get the ranked faculty member teaching your courses. And so the student faculty ratio here is very intentional because our students get to know the faculty members, which is great, and that's another differentiator for
yeah.
us.
Yeah, I've always been impressed, or I've long been impressed about the innovative nature of the university when it comes to programming, curriculum. Your predecessor, Sherilyn Emberton, I know, launched an ag program. You mentioned Purdue, obviously a big land grant institution with world-class ag programs. Well, Huntington Liberal Arts, you wouldn't necessarily think of that as having an ag program. Implemented that. I think that was very popular. You've got an amazing film and digital program as well. I know we did a story on it on TV. Talk about that. And first of all, talk about just the need to be intentional about creating programs that students want, that families want, and implementing those into the curriculum.
Yeah, so one of the things we talk about all the time, and my staff, if they're listening to this, they're gonna laugh, but I talk a lot about being mission driven and market sensitive, not market driven and mission sensitive. So for us, it's both and. Where do we see needs in the world that kind of fit with what we're about, and how can we do that? And so you have two good examples in both ag and digital media. I think we're one of the top programs in the Midwest now for digital media. We're consistently ranked one or two in this whole region. And so we do a feature film every couple summers. We just finished one in the summer of 2025, and that will be we'll have a premiere coming up in April on our campus for that. And then we're already gearing up for, let's see, it'll be the summer of 2027. So we'll bring students and from the Arizona campus will come here to Huntington. We'll bring experts from all over the country who will mentor and work alongside of our students. And then they'll actually get hands-on experience. And that's a really big deal for students in getting these practical experiences. In the world of ag, it's Purdue and Huntington in
Yeah.
Indiana. That's it. We're one of two. And so we were just with Purdue a couple weeks ago. Our VP for Academic Affairs and someone from the Halpert Institute here, Nate Perry, who's a important leader of our ag program. We spent some time at Purdue with a variety of people in vet science, in the ag program as well, the crop science area. Just asking, okay, what are you doing? How we actually partner with Purdue on some programs, and they've been sharing resources. And the reality is Purdue is unbelievable. It's not for every student.
Mm.
And so we offer high quality academics, but we do it a little bit differently. And so not every student wants to be in classes with hundreds of students, or it just doesn't work for everyone. And so, yeah, we're a good value for that. And we have good hands on experiences. Our students get internships as part of their programming here in both of those programs you mentioned. And then we've got a great success rate with them getting jobs. So, whether it's ag education, ag business, animal production, crop science, we've got a relationship with Purdue on the vet tech program. So, students get a degree from Huntington and then a 2-year degree from Purdue at the same time. And then they can sit for the licensure and all of the work that's needed to be vet tech. And so, yeah, we're always looking at new ways to what does society need? How do we fill that in a way that aligns with our mission? And I think that's the secret sauce. You can't bury your head and say, well, we're going to do what we're going to do. You also can't chase everything. So you really have to find that alignment between the two.
Yeah, what is that niche? Both programs, but in particular, the digital media area is something that, you can really create a niche, a brand, out there in the marketplace. Do you find that happening? Do you think you're getting that reputation out there and it's helping to attract students?
Oh, for sure. Those 2 programs along with nursing, I would say, and then we've got a couple other ones that are growing. Our criminal justice program is growing right now. I think it's like anything in business, right? It's kind of the net promoter score, right? We talk about that all the time. When you have students go to school and they come back, they go home. In the world of ag, it's the FFA and the 4-H students and those leaders in those schools. And so now we have graduates of our program in those schools mentoring the next generation. And they're saying to students, well, where do you want to go to school? And so we're now on those lists. And so families are saying, had a great experience. You should check out Huntington. The same thing in digital media arts. When students see other students work and they hear about first week of class here at Huntington, here's a $20,000 camera, go make a movie. I mean, that just doesn't happen at a lot of places. I mean, oftentimes that'll maybe be for juniors and seniors, but our students are getting opportunities literally on day one. And so they want to touch stuff. They don't just want to talk about theory. They want to go make something. And so we have opportunities for people to do that. And I think those are differentiators for sure.
Yeah, I know, artificial intelligence, AI is certainly transforming everything we do across industries, and it's certainly the case in higher education. I think, and Lilly Endowment obviously has impacted the academic landscape in Indiana in so many ways. Are there programs there, AI, and you really want to get into that AI wave, if you will? And I think Lilly Endowment has given some money to help that process.
Yeah, I mean, Lilly Endowment historically, I think what I read last week is perhaps they're the largest foundation in the country, but potentially even in the world, right? So right now they've given an opportunity for each of these schools in Indiana to write a grant. And so we did that. We got the initial money to investigate what we would like to do internally. But we're also talking with several other higher ed partners in industry about their collaboration grants. And so we're in the middle of applying for those and thinking about it. Some of that is really focused regionally as well. And so, yes, I mean, there's different ways people are doing this. Some are offering AI courses, others are talking about AI integrated into every major. Um, I just think it's here to stay. We're not
Yeah,
really sure what it looks like. Industry is saying, "Hey, higher ed, figure it out." Higher ed is saying, "Hey, industry, tell us what you need." So it's an iterative process, which means we just keep asking questions and trying to figure out what we need to do next. And there's a lot of ethical considerations on data privacy, on how data is being used. There's also some ethical pieces around who owns intellectual property, and then there's the ethical piece around, is this a student's original thinking, or are they,
yeah,
for lack of better terms, are they cheating, or is it, something like that? So we have a lot to figure out. And I think these types of conversations and Lily essentially challenging us all to say, how can Indiana be a leader in this? It's created a lot of really good conversations. I have to be honest, 6 months ago, I didn't really know much about this, but when Lily said, "We would love for higher ed to help with this," we're all learning it together, which is
yeah,
great.
yeah. You mentioned collaboration and collaboration with industry and understanding what industry needs, industry wants. I think, as you look at things like workforce development and higher education connecting with the private sector to help communities. I think the big public institutions have long been on that pathway. Not so much liberal arts institutions, but since that is changing, and I know that's something I think you put a lot of value in, and that connecting with business and industry and community when it comes to things like workforce development.
Yes, I mean, for sure, and I think we are saying we're preparing the next fill in the blank for society. Well, what is the fill in the blank? Is it teachers? Is it social workers? Yeah, it's those things, but it's also, business leaders, business owners, finance. It's nurses, it's occupational therapists, right? It's the next family farmer, but it's also the person who's going to work in ag business and is gonna use drone technology and gonna use AI to figure out the best way to grow crops and also to care for the environment in appropriate ways. So we don't what higher ed, particularly liberal arts higher ed, is traditionally been very good at is creating critical thinkers, people with ethics and morals and values and lifelong learning and being intellectually humble, right? I don't really know about this. Let me go learn some more. Those are all really things that we've historically done well, but we can't give those things up and just work on the hard skills. We need to do both. And so I think that's the secret sauce, if you will, of working with business and industry and workforce development is how can we help students be great critical thinkers and sharp and inquisitive and work well with others at the same time give them kind of day one skills for the job, realizing that wherever they go they're going to have to upskill. I'm sure it's the same with you in digital media and
Sure.
broadcasting.
Yep.
What we're doing right now, talking on a Zoom call with the
Yeah.
technology, I feel like we're at the Jetsons. If you're old enough to know who the Jetsons are, we never thought this would happen. It was kind of a joke, and
Yep.
here we are. We're actually doing it. So, in the world of broadcast media, we're giving them the best of today, but we're training them in ways that hopefully they can continue to learn and grow over time.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a cyclical process.
Yeah, and as you look at some of the things you're doing there at Huntington, again, a number of higher education institutions around the country, some in Indiana even, are facing real challenges from a business standpoint. But I know, in doing a little research, you had some really good numbers in terms of enrollment in the fall of 2025. I think might have even had a record enrollment. So, kind of the proof is in the pudding. The numbers are coming back in a positive way at Huntington.
Yes, and I think again, it comes back to that net promoter score. So, how likely would you enroll in Huntington again if you had a chance to do it again? Or would you tell your neighbors to come here? So, yeah, I mean, we're doing those types of things. We want to recruit the best and the brightest. And one of the initiatives we pulled out this year for starting a fall 2026 is we've redesigned and rebranded our honors program. So, students right out of high school will join our honors program as first year students. And so, we would love for students who are high achievers to say, yeah, Huntington's a great fit. They're helping me pay for school because I did a great job in high school. But we're also a place where we have a lot of students who are first generation in their family. And so, how do we help them? And so, I think one of the reasons that higher ed is in so much competition is it's a costly endeavor. And so we have to figure out constantly ways to make it affordable for students and families who want to be in our programs. How do we do that? We write grants, we help students find scholarships, we go to foundations and to try to increase the opportunities that we have to make this an affordable place. And so we're constantly in conversations to think through, okay, how do we make this affordable? Because we believe in our product and we know the good that it does and how we prepare students.
Is
Yeah,
that
so
it?
I think that's the hard part right there is like
Yeah.
everyone would like to be here, but not everyone can afford it. So how do we do that, right?
Is that the number one issue? Lots of issues facing higher education, but in terms of attacking cost, is that the really at the top of the list?
I think it's got to be in the top 2 or 3 in my book. Yes. It's how do we do this? How do we do it well? How do we do it with excellence? And how do we make it affordable? Right.
Yep.
And so there's challenges and things we can control, and then there's other decisions that government and other entities make that have trickled down on our budget, and then we have to respond. And that's not unlike other industries. It's
Yeah.
just kind of running a business. And we're a
Yep.
nonprofit and we do good work, but we have to account for how we spend our money and do it in wise ways that are, in alignment with our mission.
Much more ahead with Huntington President Dr. Rob Pepper when we return. We'll talk a little bit about his background and his path to Huntington and a lot more when the Business and Beyond podcast returns.
As a bank, PNC prides itself on being boring. But the truth is they couldn't be more excited to serve the dynamic Indianapolis community. For nearly 160 years, they've quietly toiled away to deliver brilliant results for their equally brilliant clients. They have dedicated PNC teams throughout the local area all ready to do the boring work to help you unlock your own brilliance. PNC Bank, brilliantly boring since 1865. PNC Bank, National Association member FDIC.
And welcome back to the Business and Beyond podcast presented by PNC. My guest this week is Huntington University President Dr. Rob Pepper. And Rob, I want to get into a little bit of your personal background. But first of all, what's it like being a university president? Give us your typical day. Do you have a typical day?
I tell you what, there's nothing that's typical. And a number of years ago, you hear these different axioms and phrases, and the only thing constant is change. I mean, every day it's different.
Yep.
I love it. Some days it's more with students, which, that is why I got into this business, if you will, to spend time and mentor and develop students. I love those moments. Other days it's with my board members talking about the future and reviewing these challenges that we were just discussing. Other days it's spent here with my strategic leadership team. Other days I get to talk to alumni. Some days I'm with politicians and local leaders. Yeah, it's just different every day. And yeah, I really do like that. I'm not much one to I mean, if you told me I had to sit at a cube all day, I mean, there's no way. So I like doing something different every day. So it's a lot of fun.
Talk about growing up. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in central New Jersey, probably 45 minutes at the most an hour away from what was, the big city, which is New York City. So that's where I grew up, central New
Yep.
Jersey.
Talk about growing up. School? Did you play sports? Academics? What was your passion as a youngster?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I grew up in a house of educators. My dad was a college professor at a community college. My mom was involved in education. Actually, my grandmother on my dad's side was a teacher, and my mom's
Wow.
Mom was a music teacher, so I guess education was the family business in some ways. Yeah, I grew up kinda well-rounded in the '70s, typical suburban sprawl neighborhood and playing outside with the kids in the neighborhood. Yeah, involved in Boy Scouts, involved in sports, involved in music, all the things we did back then because we didn't have cell phones or internet.
And the internet, right, yeah.
Right, I mean, yeah, just kinda I guess it was kind of a typical family. Faith was always important to our family, so the church was a big piece of our family, and I think that's why I'm drawn to faith-based higher education because that's always been an important part of our family, and, yeah, that's been a good grounding for me, and, went to college at Messiah College, which was just a couple hours from home in Pennsylvania, and, my intent was to go be a high school history teacher and coach. I played soccer and lacrosse in high school, and I was gonna go be that guy, and I had a mentor in college that kinda challenged me to say, "Well, why don't you think about working at a college?" And so that kinda started the path.
That's interesting. It's funny because heading into college, I wanted to be a teacher and a coach. That's why
Yeah,
I wanted to be a coach, and
yeah,
got an internship. And internships to me are just so critically important to find out what you want to do, but also maybe what you don't want to do. And
absolutely.
it helped me, it kind of guide me into broadcasting. But so Messiah University, why did you choose that spot?
Honestly, it was a couple hours from home. They had a really strong history program. Like I said, I had, some mentors along the way when I was there, but also in high school where I felt like, "Okay, I wanna study history, I wanna be a teacher, I wanna be a coach," and so I liked the campus, couple hours from home, they had strong programs that I was interested in and just chose it, yeah.
Yeah, and 32 years there. It would seem that that was pretty good training for your current role at Huntington, kind of a nice background for what you're doing now at Huntington.
Right. So my undergrad degree is in history and education. I have a master's in counseling. I went to Shippensburg University, which is also in Pennsylvania, and that really launched my career. I wasn't planning on it, but in the middle of graduate school, Messiah College, now university, called me and said, "Hey, we have a position. You could do this while you finish graduate school." I mean, to be honest, then they called me and said, "Actually, somebody just left. You can stay." And my wife was a teacher and she had a job in the area. So we said, well, we'll do this for a couple years. And a couple years turned into over 30. So,
Wow.
I continued to be pushed and mentored by people there. And we raised our kids in that community. We didn't have any family in that area. So our community in that larger Mechanicsburg, Harrisburg area, they became our family, and at that point, we said, "Okay, well, we either gonna stay here and finish this out and raise our kids here, or we're gonna move," and we just decided we're gonna stay, and I had great opportunities along the way to be challenged, and so I have a background in student affairs and academic success, admissions, athletics, enrollment, and then I was teaching, and then I got involved in academic administration. My last appointment there was working directly with the president there in partnerships and innovation, and she was a phenomenal mentor and really gave me great opportunities. I think you're right to say it did prepare me for being a president and we didn't know anything about Huntington, and we ended up here based on a search firm making a phone call and some mentors saying, "Hey, Rob, I think this is one that you should really consider. I think it's a good fit for you." And so at that point, our three children were out of the house. Our daughter was just finishing college; she just graduated, and so we felt like, okay, let's give it a try. Let's move to Indiana, and it's been great so far.
Okay, I'll ask you the typical wrap-up question, and that's to kind of look ahead a bit,
Yes.
look in the crystal ball. As you look at Huntington University 5 years down the road, maybe more importantly, 10 years down the road, what things do you want to accomplish, and what do you want Huntington University to be?
Well, I think, I'm building on the legacy. You had mentioned my predecessor, and I've actually been blessed to meet all three previous presidents. They were all at my inauguration. That's amazing, right? I mean, just to follow in their footsteps. And so I think for me, it's continuing to build programs and academics based on the greatest needs of society, but rooted in the core values of who this place is. We're in the middle right now of a big conversation about our brand and who we are. And so we're talking about reinvigorating our mission and our core values. As you know, those are big, important projects to do. So we're going to get through that here within the next year or sooner. And then we're going to continue to have conversations about, well, what are the next programs? What does society need? And we're at this inflection point about AI and other industries, but also talking to industry leaders in Northeast Indiana. And I think we just need to be excellent in what we do and be focused on who we are and not comparing to other people. Those are important. And finally, I would say we do an excellent job here of admitting students and graduating them,
Mhm.
but I think we can do even better on retaining. A thought leader that I follow talks about avoiding coin flip colleges, and you may or may not know this. We're not one of them at Huntington at all, but there's a coin flip of some colleges. Less than 50% of the students who start actually graduate.
Ah, wow.
And I don't even wanna come close to that. We're
Right.
well beyond that, but I wanna be known for a place is if you choose to come to Huntington, we're gonna do everything in our power to educate you and help you graduate and meet your goals. We're doing an excellent job with that now, but I think we can take it even to the next level. So, and you said, "Well, what does the future look like?" I think the future looks like more students having wonderful opportunities here, finishing college, and giving back. And so, as we think through the smaller towns and the smaller communities and counties and cities, as well as the suburbs of Fort Wayne and Indianapolis, what's it look like in the future? They need more graduates from places like Huntington to come help lead. And I want Huntington to be able to provide opportunities for those students from those communities that come here to get a wonderful education and to return home and stay in Indiana to help kind of solve these problems and issues and concerns that so many of these communities have.
Dr. Rob Pepper, the president at Huntington University. Rob, really been great to catch up with you and get your perspective on things. I know you're doing a lot of great things at the university and importantly beyond in Northeast Indiana. Very important part of your job that's having an impact in Indiana. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to be with you today.
All right. And thank you for joining us on this episode of the Business and Beyond podcast presented by PNC. We are a weekly conversation with achievers in business, sports, entertainment, and beyond. And you can download all of our episodes and get Indiana business news 24/7. All you have to do is go to InsideIndianaBusiness.com. I'm Gary Dick. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Whether it's healthcare innovation, major infrastructure, or global sports impact, Inside Indiana Business with Gary Dick tells the stories of Indiana's groundbreakers and game changers. It's the must-listen show for business, civic, and community leaders across the state. Subscribe and listen wherever you get your podcasts or at ibjpodcast.com.
Your commute just got smarter. Turn drive time into growth time. The IBJ Media Podcast Network gives you front row access to leaders shaping Indiana's economy, culture, and future. No filler, just smart, relevant, local storytelling you won't get anywhere else. Find all of our shows by searching IBJ Media in your podcast app or visit ibjpodcasts.com.